Howdy, Bol, Prabhu. So we're starting a podcast by Back to Roots Inspiration from Wales. I'm Adhoksaja Krishna Dasa in sunny Scotland, and for a few years now I've been banging away on Sankirtan, and so there's a few insights I thought might be helpful to share. What it may also do is stimulate some feedback, some questions. Maybe even some challenges, that's okay. Things, just to kind of churn the nectar a little bit. Talking about Sankirtan, talking about chanting, these are very, very pleasing things to everyone that gets involved. And for those that are already doing Sankirtan or aspiring to do Sankirtan, then it's very helpful to have these insights and to examine maybe areas that they have fear or are not really aware of why they're having difficulty. And a breakthrough is something which you come up against a wall and then suddenly you find a way through that wall. And that's really what going back to Godhead is. It's a series of walls and you penetrate through them into the next wall, and then eventually you're at the gates of Vaikuntha. And then they say, oh, look, he's one of Prabhupada's boys. He needs to go to Goloka. And up until then, you're pushing through these different, and there are others that already have pushed through, and they're saying you have to go like this or like that, and then we break through, and so it's really helpful then to share those breakthroughs with other devotees, so that they can also do the same, and then they can pass that on again, hand it down the line, so that we're all getting on the same page much quicker instead of having to wait. Like some of the simple things that you can suddenly break through on could have maybe taken, well, for me, 40 years, and then suddenly, oh, wow, that's what it means. Whoa! So it would have saved me a lot of time if somebody had explained it. Sometimes it's also just a question of experience, but certainly I think we can speed the process up by sharing things and inquiring about things. When I joined, I heard what Sankirtan was. You approaching people with books and trying to sell them, and I thought, no, that's not for me. I joined the Hare Krishna movement to be an artist, so they had me painting, and that was fine. I was in Chaitanya College. Then one day, the Bhaktas at Chaitanya College got to meet the Sankirtan devotees. We were doing Gora Arti, and suddenly these guys came in and they were jumping around like firecrackers and bouncing off the wall, and they were so fired up. And I said afterward, who are they? And they said, oh, they're the Sankirtan devotees. They've just come back from traveling Sankirtan. And immediately I thought, okay, I need to try the Sankirtan. If that's what it does for you, if it gets you that excited and that full of energy, I need to try this. First time in Sankirtan, I had a collecting can. And I was so terrified that if I asked the person for money, he would become a ferocious monster and chase me up the high street wielding a machete. So I was very, very tentative, but I was amazed that people were actually quite happy to help and give a donation. And my first time in Sankirtan with a can was £79, which in those days, 1982, was huge. That was like a week's wages. I was really pleased with myself. I thought, wow, I've been eating and eating and eating, and now I'm getting a chance to pay back some of the costs that I've been incurring by the heating and everything all the resources that I've been using. Now I was getting a chance to reciprocate and contribute. So I was really pleased. I remember we were working from Bhaktivedanta Mana, and we were traveling on Sankirtan, and that week I was really trying to make a special effort to do my Sankirtan well. And I came back and paid my obeisances to Radha Gokunalanda. And when I looked up, it was just like a window into the spiritual world. I'd never seen the deities look so alive. I could almost see them breathing. Everything looked alive. All the ornaments that were twinkling looked like they were living entities, all surrounding the divine couple to serve them. And I thought, well, I'm getting a glimpse into the spiritual world because I've been trying hard to do my Sankirtan nicely. The deities have decided to reciprocate and reveal their divinity. So on Sankirtan, the first person we have to engage is ourselves. So it's very, very hard, and I'm sure for those of us who've done Sankirtan, well, have experienced, if you don't really want to do it, then it's going to be even tougher to get someone else to do it. So if you're finding it difficult and you're finding it hard to relate to the people and get them inspired, then immediately don't blame anybody else. Just blame yourself. Funnily enough, there was a situation once where I was with a devotee and we worked either side of Byers Road, which is a place in Glasgow where the students hang out. And after about an hour, this devotee came over and he was looking very flustered. He said, Prabhu, he said, how is it going? I said, it's really good. He goes, do you know, the side of the street that I'm on, I'm just meeting total weirdos, really like crazy guys. Would you mind, could we swap sides? I says, yeah, you're okay then. So I went onto the other side. He went on the side I was doing. Came back to me about maybe 40 minutes later. He goes, Prabhu, how you find it? I said, well, actually, it's been quite nice. Just met a guy. He wants to try chanting, and he was so pleased to get. He goes, you know, I don't know what it is, Prabhu, but they've all gone over onto my side of the road. So what's going on there is your consciousness will attract a certain type of person and make them respond to you in a certain type of way. So don't blame the people. And the easiest thing is just to blame yourself, because you can't really change anybody else, but you can change yourself. So you think, okay, look, maybe I'm not happy enough. Maybe I'm not loud enough. Maybe I'm not putting out enough energy. And because I can't engage myself, then I can't engage anybody else. You know, I remember I was doing Sankirtan in London, and this guy, he was like, every time I went down, his head went down with me, and I moved to the side. I thought, this guy's a bit of a comedian, you know. Is he like taking the mickey out of me? And I went over to him, and he was the most miserable looking person I've ever seen, you know. And I went to say something, and then I realized it was me. It was my reflection in the shop window. So you have to make sure you're smiling and you're looking enthused and you're looking like you're into it, and then you've certainly got a much better chance of engaging others. Generally, devotees accept that they should do some Sankirtan, but they may be thinking, I'll just do it for a year or two, and then that'll be me off the hook. I've paid my debt to society, and I can move on to more interesting things, or things that won't be so austere or challenging for me. So probably, I mean, if we're looking at a devotee that wants to be a lifetime Sankirtan devotee, probably the first barrier that he has to overcome is that instead of thinking how long he has to do Sankirtan, is to realize that as soon as he wants to do Sankirtan, he doesn't have to do it anymore. So the sooner he can be so into it that it's spontaneous, the quicker the misery is over. You can't really avoid the purification that will be necessary to go back to Godhead. But instead of being reluctant, the sooner we can give up our reluctance, the sooner the fun starts. So 7% is the word when communicating, and 93% is considered intonation and body language. In other words, your consciousness is what communicates more than the particular words you are using. So in that regard, one time I was chanting 64 rounds once a week, and on that day, it was Sankirtan. And I'd gotten up at midnight, chanted till 8, and then got ready and went out. I was saying all the same things that I normally say, but people were finding it really, really funny. And sometimes they were over on the other side. Now, I never usually try and stop people if they're too far away. But this guy's walking down the other side of Buchanan Street and said, excuse me. And he just stopped and came walking over to me. He says, yeah. I was thinking, wow, that must be, if the sound vibration is very pure, very clear, then you can have a powerful effect upon people, and you're more connected with the Paramatma, and therefore you're more connected with their Paramatma. So the communication can go a lot deeper and can be a lot more powerful. Generally, we find if we're on a marathon, the japa becomes more intense, and that intensity, focused and precise chanting is a sharp edge to cut through the membrane of the mental platform. And the intensity that may not be there, the urgency that may not be there if you're not on a marathon or you're not doing Sankirtan, is certainly there, certainly heightened. And that is the whole idea, actually, of doing a marathon. I mean, it is nice to do a lot of books, and it is nice to collect a lot of Lakshmi. But if you don't learn to chant Hare Krishna purely, then you're not going home, I'm afraid. And certainly not to Goloka anyway. So the whole point of everything is how many Shuddhanams can you chant? That should be another category in the Sankirtan. This devotee did £5 million, 3,000 sets of Bhagavatams. But he only chanted Shuddhanam once. Well, anyway, at least he did it once. Haribol, so that's like part of the Sankirtan. It is because at the time of death, you won't be looking for your book bag to give somebody a book. You'll be looking for the holy name. It'll be the holy name that'll take you back. And you'll need to have learned how to take shelter of it before that. Otherwise, you just missed the boat. So, anyway, the intensification of the chanting takes place generally by the chanting. Chanting speeds up to some degree. Of course, just speeding up your japa is not gonna work. But it should be that because of the urgency and the intense desire, then the chanting does speed up. And because of that speeding up, the mind has less things to get distracted by because it's so busy just trying to chant the mantra. And of course, the other thing which is interesting is we emphasize very much hearing, but there's something else that's going on as well. As you're saying Krishna, there's a certain place in your mouth that your tongue goes. And even if you don't make any sound, if you just say Krishna without making any sound, your tongue will still go to that same place. So as you're chanting, you're forming a certain pattern of movements with your tongue. And that is much faster than your ability to hear. So the hearing is going on a subtle level by the movements of your tongue. And you can't always control how well you can hear something. And remembering Krishna is even harder. It's more based upon your desire in Krishna's mercy. But the initial stages of the chanting and the moving the tongue quickly, that we can do ourselves, we can control it. That's like physical stuff that we can do. We can Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. We can do that. And then, hopefully, by keeping up that persistent intensification, we'll break through into hearing, and Leela will come in and everything else. But those are the things we can focus on. And at least that's within our control. And then that puts us in a position where we're very well situated for receiving Krishna's mercy, because he's like, okay, this guy's really trying hard here. He's really putting a lot of energy into this. I feel like I'm going to reciprocate with this. He's not just being lazy about it and thinking, well, it's up to Krishna, So that's something to try when you chant. Okay, so for those of you that want to give some feedback, which would be very much appreciated, it would be nice to, the more we get involved, the more involving it gets, and everyone benefits. They say that when you synergize, 1 + 1 = 11. So that's good for everyone. So anyone that does want to do that, it's Instagram bhakti.breakthrough.